All right, so in the last video, we talked about that action side of the equation and the reaction side of the equation. This is where we start getting into things like OODA loop and stuff like that, and your observation, your orientation, decision, and action, and stuff like that. Basically, OODA is nothing but an extremely complex way. I don't want to belittle it, but it is an extremely complex way of saying that action is faster than reaction, of saying that the guy who acts in the fight first is going to have the more positive outcome in that fight than the guy who reacts. And I think we can all agree on this. It's just common sense. We don't need to necessarily break down OODA to that degree. But if you want to actually get into OODA and break it down into its little individual compartments and modules and stuff, I've already done a video on that. You guys check that out. So, tying up to control, why is that important? Well, because at the end of the day, a guy can't shoot you if he can't access his gun. A guy can't punch you if he can't, get distance in order to gain any kind of power. He can't do damage on you in any way if he is not in control of that fight. So if I control the distance, I control the fight. Also, when we start getting into bigger opponents and we start getting into guys who are more athletic than we are and so on and so forth, that closeness, that clinch, that tightness has a way of removing certain athletic traits from an individual that he would otherwise be able to utilize against me. For instance, when you're grappling a guy, one of the things that you're going to see is that as I'm grappling this individual, if he's got a really strong and explosive game and he's moving all around and so on and so forth, and I'm trying to grapple him at a distance, he is going to have an advantage over me. That's not going to be my goal. I want to take him out of his game and make him fight mine. So this is where we come into getting into control, because once I tie up, once I get in super tight on this individual, I can now control the pace of the fight. I control the speed. I can go as fast as I want, or I can go as slow as I want. I can control where this thing goes and how this thing goes down to a much greater degree if I am in that close contact situation with this individual. Like I said, I also have the ability to be able to mitigate weapons. If weapons have already been introduced, I have the ability to prevent where those weapons are going and how they're being used to a much greater degree than if that individual is left free and I'm trying to control him at a distance, or I'm trying to somehow fight offensively against his offensive weapons. So, for example, a guy pulls out a knife and you're trying to just throw punches and stuff on this guy without dealing with the weapon first. So control, whether you're on the action side or the reaction side, has to be your priority. You have to go from one of those states to a position of control. And the sooner that you do it, the less damage you're going to receive, particularly when we're talking about the most damaging weapon within that particular environment is going to be the knife. Now, when we did the Edge Weapons class, I've already posted a couple videos for you guys, but when we did the Edge Weapons class, one of the things that we talked about was the fact that you're going to get cut, all right? We have to just understand that that's a foregone conclusion. Now, having an understanding of a realistic outcome will help us be able to get to the outcome, the ultimate outcome that we desire without basically throwing things out that basically say, oh, well, you got a cut on the arm, therefore you lost. And basically it turns into a game of tag with a knife. And that's completely unrealistic, all right? What we want to be able to do is we want to be able to present the least vital targets on our body so that we can close that space, so that we can get control, so that if he does get a strike with a knife, it's going to be in a non-vital area that is not going to affect mechanical issues, it's not going to affect hydraulic issues, and it's not going to affect electrical issues. Now, we've talked about that before in the past. The mechanical being things like your bones and joints and ligamenture. Hydraulic being your circulatory system. So things like arterial bleeding, things like that. That would be bad. I think we can all agree. Electrical being that CNS, essential nervous system, starting at the brain box, but understanding that that goes all the way down the spinal cord, and basically anywhere where you receive an injury, south of that injury along the spinal cord, it tends to go dead. So we've shown videos on that before in the past as well. So when we're talking about control, I need to be able to get in and control such that I can remove those issues from him, but I got to be able to penetrate that space and get in without receiving any kind of significant mechanical, electrical, or hydraulic failures. So this is why control is the key in that particular fight. All right, so we're going to go through the rest of these here in a priority system in the next video. You guys stay tuned.